Hey everybody, it is July 1st, 2020. We've made it through half of 2020, so I think we all deserve a little day drinking. So welcome, my name is Wes Hagen. I am the brand ambassador and the consulting winemaker for the Miller Family Wine Company. I've been in Santa Barbara wine for about 25 years, and I am an ex-high school and college English teacher, and I love talking about wine. So welcome to day drinking. We're going to be doing some fun stuff today. We're going to probably just kind of hang out here for a little bit, talk a little bit about this, talk a little bit about that. Don, welcome, my friend. Always tell me that you're here. Let me know what you're drinking, where you are. I know where most of you are, but I always like to hear from you guys, and really appreciate you guys coming on. So what are we doing today? Well, today's going to be a little bit different. I am not going to specifically taste any one wine at the beginning of the show. Instead, what I'm going to do at 5 o'clock is I'm going to ask for suggestions, and those of you who are here early, you'll have the best idea. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to try to teach you guys today a way to talk about any wine in the world and say 3 smart things about it. So I know that some of you are wine geeks, and the folks that are always here are wine geeks. This is going to be a little bit more for the folks that feel a little uncomfortable talking about wine. If you know me, and you're going to hear this probably twice today, that I don't really think it's that important to talk about wine, but it's part of our culture. So because it's part of our culture and because it's an important thing for business, Jim, is it tasting room open Sunday? Yes, we are going to be open, just outdoor tasting. So Jim, 2 things. Number 1, make sure you make an appointment. And B, if you can send me an email either tonight or tomorrow, I will forward that email and ask them to take care of you and to set up tell me when you want to go in, because it's only outdoors. You might have heard that Gavin Newsom is basically shut down in any county that's really having serious issues with infection, that indoor tasting is impossible. So we're going to have incredibly limited seating. I want to make sure if there's an opportunity, obviously it's going to be a busy weekend, send me an email, whagan@jwilkes.com, or you can send me a Facebook IM, but I don't really get to them as often as I do my email. Email's where I do business. Facebook I check when I have time. So, but yes, we are going to be open Sunday. It will only be outside, and please do bring a mask. Southern Santa Barbara County is not struggling nearly as much as where I am up in Santa Maria, northern Santa Barbara County. Seems like northern Santa Barbara County is getting the brunt of it right now in the world of COVID. So, and Ian, hello. Pairing with French onion soup. French onion soup is one of my favorite things to do. If you get just even some progresso, like French onion soup, and you add maybe a quarter pat of butter, and then some maybe a little bit. I like to add just a little bit of heavy whipping cream right at the end, just to give it a little bit of richness, and then sherry. I always love to add a little of really high-end Amoroso sherry to my French onion soup, and then I'm going to get to the pairing in just a sec. But then I would also, what I like to do with my French onion soup, I like to toast sourdough bread, 2 pieces of sourdough bread, or 1 big piece of sourdough bread per French onion soup. And then once it's nice and heavily toasted, I chop it up into little squares. And then I take all the squares, I put the French onion soup that I've probably cooked in a pan, and I put the warm or hot French onion soup into a crock, and then I put all of the toasted sort of croutons on top of the soup, and then I cover it with Gruyere cheese, and then into the broiler, and give it a nice browning over the top. It's awful to do the dishes, but it's delicious. As far as a pairing, I would think Chardonnay would be spectacular. My first thought, you're not ready for this, is Pinot Blanc. Rosé is a fantastic match. There's quite a bit of sweetness in onions. So a wine that's a little more unctuous, I think a white Rhone would be spectacular. Viognier. With a Viognier, you might even want to look at maybe more of a cheddar-based cheese instead of the Gruyere. Gruyere would work with the Chardonnay, but the Viognier, I think maybe even cheddar. A nice Tillamook, like a vintage white cheddar. And always use more cheese on French onion soup than you think, because when was the last time that at the end of a French onion soup, you're like, damn, there's just too much cheese here. Now, I've had some amazing French onion soups in my day. And I think Riesling, Gewürztraminer, especially I think off-dry Riesling or Gewürztraminer works perfectly because a little bit of the sweetness from the onions in the French onion soup. So that's kind of the way that I would look at that. That's good. Oh, if you got the Gruyere, I would think Chardonnay, Roussanne, Marsanne. Yeah, maybe like a Riesling. I think, the Gruyere is going to give a lot of fat. It's going to give some really nice unctuousness and flavor. But man, you could do Pinot Noir. You could do Gamay, Rosé for sure. Like a nice Tavel or Smashberry Rosé would be just wonderful. I think that would. Now I'm getting hungry. I had a huge breakfast, but now that I think about it, I don't. I had 2 breakfasts. I ate like a hobbit today. I had my normal peanut butter toast with my coffee, and then before we decided to exercise, I decided we should have a nice healthy breakfast, a nice healthy big breakfast. Not actually that healthy. So we did do full American this morning, not a full English, which would be sausages and beans and all that. But we made some hash browns and we had some scrambled eggs and I made some bacon and it was a good breakfast. Stuffed myself before I worked a quarter of it out of my body. Awesome. So stoked that you guys are here. Yeah, what I've found too is I love to cook. But on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, generally I finish up the show around 6, and Chanda sort of turns into a pumpkin around 8. She's not usually asleep. Well, sometimes she's asleep by 8, but normally we're in bed by 7:30, having dinner on trays, and then we'll watch a movie. Watch some TV, watch some Disney or cartoons, or we've been watching a lot of documentaries lately. Been watching a lot of National Geographic Channel and Disney Plus. A lot of these drain the Titanic, drain New York Harbor, drain World War II, drain the Bermuda Triangle. They've actually been really, really interesting. I've also been watching a 3-part show on National Geographic about Japan, which is excellent. I wish more of it was taken from ground level. About 90% of it is from a helicopter, which is gorgeous because you kind of imagine what Japanese villages look like and, a Japanese area. But one thing they do so much in the show is really show the overall topography of Japan from Hokkaido all the way down to Nagasaki. So it is actually incredibly interesting. And I also am absolutely fascinated by Japanese culture after reading David Mitchell's book, which was 1,000 Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, which is about the Dutch trading colony in Nagasaki called Dejima at the end of the 17th century, between about 1683 to about 1750. I think is how the book moves. But if you're looking for some good fiction to read and you haven't read David Mitchell, I would start with David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas. If you saw the movie, I'm sorry. Honestly, one of the greatest masterpieces of genre fiction ever written. I'm very, 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 very high on that novel. It's absolutely fantastic. It's 6 novellas told by the first half of the novellas and then the second half of the novellas, but they're all broken up and connected by reincarnation, which is a bit of a trope, and it's obviously considered a trope by David Mitchell because he makes fun of himself throughout the whole book about how the whole thing runs. But it's really fantastic. And then if you need a book to get through pretty quick, the shortest book he's ever written was 1,000 Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, a great story about a Dutch clerk for the East Indian Company, and basically the story. It's a love story. It's absolutely great. Brett Varner is in the house. Glad you're here, brother. And we're just talking about David Mitchell. If you haven't read The Bone Clocks, if you haven't read Cloud Atlas, if you haven't read 1,000 Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, I totally suggest it. It is a wine show, so I will show you the backwards version of my favorite Bible for wine right now, which is Madeline Puckett's Wine Folly. This just won the last year won the 2019 James Beard Award for wine writing, and it is a spectacular book that has so much to offer. It's so visually stimulating. It is really a book made for maybe even not my generation, but the generation younger than me that really need visual input and the idea of seeing something to understand it immediately. If you've just come on, welcome, welcome. We're about to bring in our wonderful friends over there on Instagram, who we rarely make fun of, but a couple things you guys should know. We were talking that the tasting room in Santa Barbara is going to stay open in California. That's 35 State Street, Suite B. Although you will need a reservation because there will only be about 8 people at a time allowed into the tasting room. And I will tell you, our tasting room has been absolutely slammed. So it's a lot of cleaning, a lot of masks, a lot of sanitation, a lot of wiping down. We're trying to keep people, obviously sanitizing the glasses, polishing them, making them beautiful. Everything that's going on down there is going to be important. We've got some really lovely wines being poured down there. But do bring a mask. We will require you guys to wear a mask on the way in and the way out. And let's see, what else? Physical book. I got to go physical book for Wine Folly. I love the physicality of books. I love owning old and interesting books. Books that really mean something to me, holding a book. I remember especially with Dr. Bill McDonald at the University of Redlands. I'm looking at you, Brett. One of the first things he ever did in his sort of intro to literature, the literature classes where English majors would have been first really focusing in on their English major and really understanding literature. He would give us these first editions of Moby Dick. He would give us these first editions of Robinson Crusoe, books worth thousands of dollars. And he's like, I want you to be careful with these books, but not that careful. I want you to open them. I want you to smell them. I want you to think about the hands that have held them, how many decades, how many centuries, just what a book means. So I'm still a strong proponent of a physical book and holding it in my hands and having a relationship with that book, so to speak. And this is one that I put in my hands more than, it's kind of embarrassing probably as an English major to say, more than, it should be right. It should be Ulysses, right? It should be Billy Budd, or it should be, it should be Moby Dick. It should be, it should be something maybe more profound. It should be, Portrait of the Artist. But no, it's probably Wine Folly, because that's what I do for a living. I don't teach English, I teach wine. So it's absolutely fantastic. Welcome. Yes. And Michelle Shin, who is just making the comment, she was kind enough to actually give me this book. So yes, James, wineries in the California sort of protocol does not necessarily mean tasting rooms cannot operate indoors. Tasting rooms cannot operate outdoors unless they offer food. So I'm not exactly sure whether you have to actually have a cheese plate or a sandwich to sit down and taste wine, to get a glass, to get a bottle, or to do a tasting. What I do know after talking to our tasting room manager today is that we will be open this weekend, and we will have social distancing. We will be outside. We will be serving food, and we will be pouring for folks. But I suspect it's going to be very difficult to get a reservation. So I certainly recommend that you get a reservation as soon as you can. Okay, I'm going to bring in all these wonderful and fantastic Instagram folk and hit that button, which I think does the magic. Well, hello Instagram, and welcome back Facebook. My name is Wes Hagen, and welcome to Day Drinking with Wes Hagen. It is July 1st, 2020. We have made it through the first half of 2020. Congratulations to all of us. If you're watching, that means you're breathing. And if you're breathing, that means you have lips. If you have lips, that means we're day drinking. So we're doing something completely different today. It's going to be a slightly shorter show. It's going to be a little more compact, but I'm going to put so much information and so much education. Again, when I'm putting these shows together, I ask myself this fundamental question. If I wanted to learn about wine, I was kind of stuck at home or after work in an essential position, and I needed to unwind in a wine show. What would I want to learn? Would I be engaged? Would I be excited by the same content that I am putting forward? So I'm constantly trying to challenge myself to find interesting and wonderful ways to keep you guys engaged, to keep you guys drinking, to keep you guys enabled, because that's what I do. As far as you know, so to make sure I remember this, I will not be here on Friday. Friday, I'm taking the complete day. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing independent study and day drinking, and I suspect you will probably be doing the same. So on Friday, independent study, have fun. I'll be back Monday. And on Monday, it's going to be the craziest show ever. So Monday, we're doing a show that was inspired by my wife's favorite Instagrammer, who is Molly Burke, who has 2 million followers. She's blind and she does makeup tutorials, and she's fantastic. If you've never seen Molly Burke, you should definitely check her out. She's awesome. And she's a great proponent for disability rights, and we've learned so much about being blind and all of the amazing things that blind folks can still do. So we are going on Monday. My wife, she's going to be helping me out. I'm going to take my glasses off. I'm going to put on a literal physical blindfold. It might actually be a COVID mask, just put up a little bit higher. And I have no idea. I'm going to let her choose 3 wines, I think. 3 wines from anywhere in the house. So they don't have to be Miller family wines. They might be Miller family wines. They might be Clopepi wines. They might be, I've got wines from 20 different countries in this house. So it'll be very interesting, but it'll be up to her to decide. She is absolutely, when I ask her to do this kind of stuff and she knows she's on the spot, she will not let me cheat. So I'm going to be blindfolded. I'm going to taste 3 wines in no specific order. It's not like white, pink, red. It might be bubbles, port, and sherry. I have no effing clue, but it's going to be rad. I'm going to actually embarrass myself and try to show deductively, without any idea and any cues, including the color in the glass, what in the heck am I tasting? I'm hoping I get 1 out of 3 as far as varietal and region. I hope I embarrass myself thoroughly, at least on one. I won't do it on purpose. I'll do my best. But I want to show that sometimes as a wine drinker, you just have to take a chance. Take a chance. Have fun. Why not? I mean, how many wines are there in the world? We found out on Monday that over 1 million, about 1,100,000 wines are produced in the world every day, which I suggested that if you tasted 2 wines every minute, basically 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, you could just about get to about 90% of all the wines that are produced in the world. So we have to be choosy. We have to understand and say, this is what I want to drink, and this is what I love, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So it's going to be loads of fun. Oh, also, fun little fact, KCOY television here in Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, and I think they also operate in Paso Robles, came out and did an interview with me today. So I'm going to be on TV news tonight. And the question was, it was about 5 questions, but how is the new guidance from the state of California influencing your business? How is it influencing your tasting room? How is it influencing your winery? How is it influencing your sales? And you'll have to check it out, but I'll just give you a quick kind of breakdown. The one thing that I think you guys might find interesting is how it's impacted our sales, because you guys have helped so much. So when we made that sort of pivot from broad market wines, trying to sell them into restaurants and wine bars in 48 states, that kind of shut down, and we weren't getting any more purchase orders from our distributors in Oklahoma, New York, New Jersey, Georgia. We decided, well, let's start selling wine direct to customers. So not only did we send out to all our friends and family, but I gave you guys some good deals on the Miller family wines. You guys responded incredibly well, and I hope you have plenty of wines for this weekend. If you do need some more, we do have a little special going on at millerfamilywines.com right now, millerfamilywines.com, for the Smashberry Barrel Burner and the Ballard Lane wines. You can, as long as you get 6 bottles, between 6 and 12 bottles, just use penny shipping, all caps, penny shipping. You get 1 cent shipping on a case, which really saves you about $22 a case, which is a nice price. And the wines are incredibly well priced, and you will automatically, I believe, get a 20% discount on those wines. And I think if you buy a case, you might even get 25% discount. So anytime we get any more deals or promotions, I'll definitely let you know. So not here Friday. I will be on KCOY News, including at kcoy.com. I'm sure they'll probably show the interview if you want to see me in a mask. And then really the idea is, let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit. Tonight, we're talking about how to make 3 competent statements about any wine. And again, the idea here is to try to teach you guys how to smell and taste any wine in the world, and to make 3 statements about that wine that even a wine geek would be like, yeah, that's spot on. So it's sort of like, if I could teach you in 15 minutes or less how to swing a golf club and swing a putter so you could go out and shoot par. I've been golfing for 25 years, and I've never even come close to par. So that, I want to give you guys sort of a cheat sheet on how to talk about wine. Some of you are like, dude, I know how to talk about wine. Well, hopefully this will also show some medium level and a little bit of advanced stuff in the simplicity of it. And it's kind of hard to be elegant, simple, and have a little bit of advanced and complicated wine evaluation. But that's exactly where I want to go tonight. So here's what we want to do. I want someone on Facebook first. I want someone on Facebook to tell me what varietal I should taste first. And it's going to have to be Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, Rosé, Pinot Noir, Cabernet, or Zinfandel. And the first one I see pop up on Facebook, I'm grabbing it. See, this is a little bit of participation here. Zinfandel from Jim. Okay, I got Zin right here. So I'm jumping into the Ballard Lane Zin. This is the 2017 Ballard Lane Zin. The 2018 is now in current release. I just found out we're selling a bunch of wines I don't even have here, so I just did a sample request. How cool of a job when you just basically, instead of buying wine, you send a sample request into your company. They put like 2 or 3 cases of wine with your name on it. You show up, they say nice things about you. You don't pay a dime. You put them on a cart, you put them in your car, you stack them in your cellar, you taste them online. I get a free t-shirt. It's just absolutely fantastic. All right, so we're going to start with Zinfandel. So what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to give you 3 words. And these 3 words are going to dictate the 3 things that you're going to talk about any wine. The first word I want to talk about is fruit. Wine is grapes, and grapes are fruit. Why is wine the most important fermented beverage on the planet Earth? Because wine grapes have more fermentable sugar than any fruit on the planet Earth. So if you don't have a still, making grape wine produces the highest level of alcohol of any any fermented beverage that is not distilled. So wine is the strongest beverage in nature, and it also can actually look a little bit like blood. Believe it or not, Dr. Patrick McGovern discovered that wine has been used for a proxy in human a ritual, a proxy for blood in human ritual 2,500 years in advance of Christianity. So the idea that wine is the blood of a savior or whatever, that's not really an idea that was brought up by Christianity. It was borrowed from other cultures and other mythologies, where in general wine was originally used as blood in other types of rituals, and rituals where sometimes human blood would actually be consumed. And think about the civilizing influence of that fact. Think about the civilizing influence of drinking wine instead of human blood to celebrate victory in war. Yeah, war still sucks, and it would be much more civilized if we didn't kill each other and celebrate afterwards. But think about the fact that wine was being used for a proxy for blood 5,500 years, or 4,500 years ago. Sorry, a little liberal arts math, getting back to it. Okay, so the first word is fruit. Fruit. And I'm gonna post my notes on up on Facebook and Instagram to make sure, maybe a picture of it, so you got my notes here too. So when we talk about fruit, I'll just give you the 3 first. So fruit is number 1. We're going to make a comment about the fruit in the wine. We're going to comment about the body of the wine, and it's going to be really easy. Light bodied, medium bodied, heavy bodied. That's a light bodied wine. I really like this wine. I like its light bodied nature. I like this wine. The medium body seems to have a perfect balance for the wine's character. The wine is rich. Wow, this is a really full-bodied wine. It really has a lot going to it, and we'll tell you how to do that. And then the third word is structure. And structure is a little bit difficult. Structure might be the one that's going to give you a little bit of, unless you're fairly incapable of determining levels of fruit. I'm not asking you to know the difference between raspberry and Marionberry, because that's not what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be making simple comments. Here is the thing that should turn your brain on to make you feel very, very relaxed. I've been a wine judge for 25 years at 4 or 5 different international wine competitions. I've worked with hundreds of professional wine judges. I have heard some outrageous things come out of their mouths. Ideas about the wine that the other judges at the table literally would stop and wonder if we would make sure that their glass was the same wine. That's how, these are professional wine judges. That I've worked with professional wine judges that struggle to taste themselves out of a wet paper sack. And here's the take-home message for you to make you feel very good about this. The greatest wine professionals I've ever judged with, I've judged with, Dr. Richard Peterson. I've judged with Heidi Peterson Barrett. I've judged with you name it. I don't need to do a lot of, I just name drop, so I already did. But I've never heard one wine judge call another wine judge out on one of their comments. It might be grab their glass and give it a sniff just to make sure someone didn't drop a fish in it or something. But no comment about wine in my 25 years of judging wine has been basically called out for being wrong. That's the greatest thing about wine. It's subjective. Everything in this world is supposed to be objective and scientific and perfect and right. I love it like that. I love science. I love rationality. I love 1 + 1 = 2. It gives me a feeling that maybe I'm on a planet spinning 70,000 miles around the sun, but I'm not flying off. Gravity works and 1 + 1 is 2. These things I know, and these things make me happy. So that's important to know. If you're taking a golf swing and you miss the ball, people are going to probably be like, dude, you missed the ball. If you miss the ball talking about wine, no one cares. In fact, I'll even make another statement, is we don't need to talk about wine. I'm giving you this because in some situations, you're going to dinner with your boss. Your boss is going to open up a great bottle of old Napa Cabernet, and he's going to say, hey, Wes, what do you think about the wine? And I'm going to think about fruit, body, and structure. So the words I want you to think about in the world of fruit are not names of fruit. They are styles. So I'm going from the least fruity to the most fruity. So if the wine does not have a lot of fruit, but you want to say something nice about it, I generally like the word savory. This wine is not savory. If the wine doesn't have a lot of fruit, nor does it have a lot of savoriness, you'd say, wow, the nose in this wine is really neutral. So if you have absolutely nothing to say about the wine and the wine doesn't speak to you, it might be dumb, it might be cold, it might just not be showing much character, unlike this wine. You might just say, wow, the nose is really neutral. When I'm taking my notes, neutral nose is a 0. So if I don't like the smell of it, if it smells awful, I was going to use another word that starts with an A, I would maybe put 2 minuses. If I was going to say I didn't really like the aroma, maybe 1 minus. If the aroma is neutral, it'd be a 0. If I like the aroma, plus. If I really like the aroma, plus. But as far as the fruit in the wine, and of course you can taste it too, because the fruit's going to be also in your palate. Your other options, well, it's got some really nice, slightly fruity aroma. The nose of this wine is slightly fruity. The wine has some fruit. It has some fruit. It's slightly fruity. Then you can just say that the wine is either fruity or primary. They mean the exact same thing. You're not saying what aromas you smell. You're not saying which specific fruits you're smelling. You're just saying that this wine has a nice, fruity, primary character. If the wine's nose is fruity but also slightly sweet, I love the word confectionery. Notice I'm not telling you to say blackberry, blueberry, strawberry. Now, here's the coolest thing. If you've got a great nose, I'm looking at you ladies especially, if you lack a Y chromosome such as I have, well, your sense of smell, your ability and your olfactory senses are heightened as a woman. So congratulations, you just won basically the evolutionary lottery. If you need something killed, tortured, hunted, talk to me. If I need something nurtured, smelled, collected, fermented, I'll talk to you. Sexist, it might be. I think you guys win, especially in this context. Excuse me, if you smell cherry, you can taste cherry. If you smell, in fact, almost every red wine, you can say red berry fruit, blackberry fruit, cherry. You can say it's Vinous, V-I-N-O-U-S. Vinous it sounds like the city in Italy. So you can just say it's Vinous. That just means it smells like grapes. So it just has a very grapey, sort of fruity but neutral aroma. Does that make sense? Now on this one, what I would say on the fruit, definitely grapey, definitely crushed raspberries. I would say it's fruity on the edge of primary. It's juicy but not jammy. I could say a lot more about it. I'm trying to keep it simple. Any of those words would work. So fruit, savory, neutral, fruity. That's the basics. Then if you want to add on to that, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Body. Okay, so I want you to think about light body, medium body, heavy body. Light body, Pinot Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc. Medium body, Chardonnay, Roussanne, Marsanne, Pinot Noir, Gamay. And then heavy body, Cabernet, Nebbiolo, Merlot, Nero d'Avola, Port, those type of things. So how do we define? It's all about mouthfeel. It's all about mouthfeel, and it's all about milk. And I think I've done this once before, but what I want you to think about, light body would be like drinking non-fat milk. It doesn't have any weight. It doesn't have any unctuousness. It doesn't have any weight on the palate. It is light and watery. Sauvignon Blanc, perfect. Riesling, bone-dry Riesling, absolutely. If the Riesling is sweet, it could easily go into medium or even heavy-bodied if it's a dessert wine. So think about somewhere between sort of like around 2% to whole milk is going to be medium-bodied. And then from whole milk, kind of a whole milk unctuousness, whole milk mouthfeel, to half and half, that's what I'm going to say is a full-bodied wine. So you have light-bodied, medium-bodied, full-bodied, and I like to think of the mouthfeel being that. And that's easy because you can put something in your mouth and without ever having tasted wine, you can easily determine whether it is kind of a little bit, kind of watery and easy in your palate and light, or if it has a little bit of palate presence, like a nice oaky Chardonnay or a nice Pinot Noir, or if it's weighty in your mouth, like a big Napa Cab or a ripe Bordeaux or a Syrah or any wine, any red wine probably from Australia. Okay, cool? Okay, so let's go to the third concept. On this one, body, 2017 Ballard Lane Zinfandel, which was fruity on the edge of juicy, beautifully primary. And then from the body perspective, some weight, a little bit of sweetness from the ethanol, from the alcohol. So bright and fruity, it gives it almost an extra richness, but the richness is not there to get it to full body. I'm going to say that this is a perfect example of the median of a medium-bodied Zinfandel. So we have fruity, primary, juicy, medium-bodied. That's where we've gone thus far. Okay, so we're keeping this really, really simple, and then we're going to talk structure. So structure might be the more complicated thing. Structure, to me, is what gives wine its edges. So the easy way to understand structure is structure in white wine is acid. Structure in red wine is tannin. Structure in Pinot Noir is both. So the way that a wine is going to be structured is either how acidic it is, how tannic it is, or both. So we want to really think about structure. So I'm going to go from soft, the softest, marshmallowy, 20-year-old Cabernet that has had so much time in the cellar, it hardly has any structure left in it at all. It's just hanging on to those huge long chain polymers that exist in the solution, all the way to something that is either so tannic it makes your mouth pucker, like a young Nebbiolo, or a young Chablis that has so much acid it's going to strip the cheek lining off of a white Zin drinker's lips and cheeks. It's going to be really, really strong. So here we go. So first word I'm going to say, if you have ever had like a 20-year-old red wine, melted. Melted. I love that word, melted. The tannins are melted because they started as little monomers, and as they age, they form these polymers. And as the polymers gain fairly long chain, I'm not saying the chains are this big, I'm talking molecularly. But once those chains reach these beautiful long polymers, some of them begin to fall out of solution, some of them stay in solution, and when we drink them, instead of those single monomer, the monomer tannins and anthocyanins piercing our taste buds and hitting the papillae of our tongue and the bitterness and astringent receptors on our tongues, they lay over the tongue and miss the receptors and have a more velveteen mouthfeel. So melted, one of my favorite words. Hard to find a melted wine. I'd say maybe 1 out of every 20 wine drinkers in the world ever tastes a melted wine. It's a special, special thing. And I love structure in wine, but once a wine has reached that melted tannin point, it really is delicious and fun to taste. Soft. Here's an easy word. So the wine is, juicy, the wine is medium-bodied, but it's a little soft. So I would say soft to me, generally as a winemaker, if someone says, I really like this wine, it's soft, and I made it, even though I know that they like it, I'm kind of like, well, I'm kind of screwed up on that one because I don't think Santa Maria, Central Coast, even Paso is about making soft wines. It's about making wines that have good structure. Structure, again, keeps the wine lively. Ever gone jogging with a Coca-Cola? Nice and crisp and bright and fizzy. You know, you kind of take a jog and you're like, why am I jogging with a Coke? And you stop and you take a taste like, oh my God, this is awful. It's just like sweet brown liquid, right? It has no interest and no deliciousness because it has lost its, I think it's phosphoric acid, which gives which actually makes the carbonation. Whatever makes the carbonation is gone. The beverage is not worth drinking. That's the structure. You lose the structure, you don't get it. Think about anything that human beings love to drink. Soda, beer, orange juice, wine, whatever. It has like a fruity aspect and it has a structural aspect. The fruit and the structure are like the protagonist and the antagonist, right? They foil each other. So when we put the beverage in our mouth, they play. And that play is what's delicious. It's the deliciousness of the fruity sweetness and the acid in orange juice that makes it so delicious. It's the fruity interplay of that carbonation, a little bit of caffeine and the flavors in a soda or a Coca-Cola that make it delicious. But once the carbonation's gone and once the structure's gone, it's useless. So soft, very popular term at a Rotary tasting where people are like, love me some soft Cabernet. I'm talking smack. I shouldn't. Love those people. Drink the wines. I just don't make soft wines. Soft wine would be a wine that you wish had a little more tannin, a little more acid. Might be kind of a big marshmallow Chardonnay. You know, I really like the nose on this wine, but it's a little soft for me. Or I really like the softness of this wine. The next one would be some structure. Well, this wine certainly has some structure. Or you can even go from some structure to structured. So I would say the next two will use the word structure. Well, there's definitely some structure here, which is a nice way of saying it's not soft, but I wish there was a little more tannin or acid. So again, day drinking. I should totally be decanting this. Because it would definitely use, I'm putting some dissolved oxygen in the wine to get some extra stuff. So again, I'm going to say this wine is juicy, fruity, sort of medium bodied. And then as far as the structure goes, paying very special attention to my mouth either watering or desiccating, the feeling of my cheeks, whether I feel tannins against my cheeks, whether I have a feeling like I want to chew the wine. And if a wine is chewy, that is massive structure. In fact, chewy's coming up. But I would say this wine has a really nice balance of acid and tannin, just like a Pinot Noir. And that's one thing that, Zinfandel and Pinot Noir are kind of like, kind of long lost, kind of good and evil brothers. Zinfandel clusters are this big, Pinot Noir clusters are this big. But the wines kind of have a similar character, a nice light-bodied, juicy red wine. So I would say this wine is structured. It had somewhere between some structure and structure, but actually the structure is quite beautiful in this wine. So I would say it is juicy, it is definitely fruity, medium-bodied, and it has some nice acid and tannin structure to it. And if you use the word acid or tannin, we've been told as wine salespeople that the word acid is not really very sexy to use in the market in front of the general public. I trust my audience to know what I mean when I'm talking about acid, that they know they're not putting hydrochloric acid in their mouth and burning their ass, burning their acid, burning their mouth and being very in pain. Acidity in wine is actually very, very healthy, and it actually produces alkaline ash of all things. So it's actually really good for the human body. Okay, so we've gone from melted, soft, some structure, structured, highly structured. So if I was tasting like the 2019 Pinot Blanc, I would say it's highly structured. Okay? But not, and then from highly structured or intensely structured, just, basically choose your own adverb at that point with an ly at the end. It's intensely structured, it's moderately structured, it's well structured. I have five words for structured that you can add along to it. Good cut, or the wine's got cut. This is the easiest thing to say. If you ever have a wine that has good acidity, I love, you can say that the wine has really good cut, or verve. I like the word verve as well. So it's got good cut. Acidity is another word. The wine has excellent acidity, good acidity, high acidity, monumental acidity, however you say it. There's absolutely, that talking about the acidity in a wine, I find no problem, especially when you're talking about a wine with friends. Obviously use the word acidity. And then of course you can talk about the tannin in the sense of the grip, the chewiness of the wine, the mouthfeel of the wine, how it desiccates the sides of your cheek lining, how you can feel it on your, sometimes even on your gums, definitely on your lips, definitely on your tongue. It'll come across as a little astringent, a little broad, and it has that beautiful thing. So again, I think what we should probably do is choose one more wine and maybe do a white. I will run through the exercise one more time, and you guys will all remember it for the rest of Tarnation. Not until I finish this delicious Zin. It is so raspberry. Yum. Without a net, without a script, without a spit bucket. Let's get to it. All right, Instagram. Let me know. I've got Rosé, Chardonnay, or Pinot Blanc. Pinot Blanc. Ooh, I'm kind of stoked on this too because I have. Oh, you know what? This is my last bottle of 16. Oh, let's see. I think I might have it. 19 right here. Yep, I'm going 19, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it's a really good indication of a beautiful aromatic white wine. And the 16, because I only have one bottle left, I want to save to see if it can lay down a couple extra years. 2019, it's a little hard to see. It's a 2019 J.Wilkes Pinot Blanc. This one is actually 100% Pinot Blanc, 100% Bien Nacido. Doesn't say it on the label, because if it did, we'd have to charge you $50 for it. These are the oldest Pinot Blanc vines probably anywhere in the New World. These vines were planted in 1973 on their own roots. So it's own rooted 46-year-old Pinot Blanc. You can tell it's a good bottle. Always good bottles. That was cleaning my glass. Making sure I'm not making rosé. Now, a couple things. I mean, if you are in a social situation or a business situation where you're asked to make a comment about the wine or even order a wine, clearly go from what you know and what you love. Don't take any real chances. Be simple. Keep your comments. I think the biggest problem with people trying to make too many comments about wine is they try to get too complicated. So again, we're trying to be as simple as humanly possible. Fruit, body, structure. Swirling makes perfect sense. If you've never swirled before, you always want to start maybe on a solid surface. I tell the funny story when I was tricked by a bunch of wine judges to believe that because the Coriolis effect in the Northern Hemisphere is such that I was swirling my wine the wrong way, and I needed to swirl the wine the opposite way, because if I went against the Coriolis effect, it would actually do a better job of exciting the wine on a molecular basis, because I was taking it against gravity. I got owned. I was also in my 20s, but I got owned. So I always think about that, and once in a while I swirl my wine the wrong way and think about all those Australians, all those sheep offenders that busted me that day. That was hilarious. All right. Fruit, body, structure. Primary and juicy, I would say quite a bit of citrus character. If I was going to try to say something fancy about the wine, I would probably say something about sort of, it's almost like a dry lemon lime soda, kind of like bubbling through chalk. It has a very strong, chalky, saline minerality. I would say juicy. The wine is lovely, it's juicy, it's quite fetching, and the aroma really pulls me in. Remember, I'm not really saying much about except when I did a little sidebar about the lemon lime soda bubbling through chalk. I'm trying to really focus just on giving a couple of very open and stylistic understanding of the wine. So no matter what other people are thinking about the wine, they go, yeah, it is juicy and bright and a little citrusy. I think that's just about right. Definitely fruity, juicy, light, elegant. Body, absolutely light-bodied. It's just light on its feet. It's ephemeral. I mean, it is absolutely purely light-bodied. And then as far as the structure goes, I would say this is structured on the edge of being highly structured. I would say it has great verve and cut. This wine wants to have some fat on the plate. It wants to have some raw oysters. It wants to have some goat cheese. It wants to, I think this wine, because of its structure and its acidity, I think it would actually match incredibly well with a lot of different salads. Salads can be a real challenge for matching, but I think the Pinot Blanc certainly can. It is finally, and we just bottled this wine and I just got it. It did come out of quality control, but it's not going to be released until the 18 is gone, which will probably be about, my guess is a month to 2 months. This wine, unfortunately, has become a little dumb, which means it is now fully in that sort of 7 weeks since bottling, maybe 8 weeks from bottling, and it is clearly showing a little bit of bottle shock. It's not as effusive and bright as it was when it was in the tank. So what the hell is bottle shock? Well, it's really not going to help you understand and being able to identify any wine and talk about it. But it is something that happens once the wine has been in bottle for a few weeks, where the wine seems to shut down a little bit and just doesn't speak to its true nature. That's why we call it dumb. And it just needs a little time in the bottle to find its way. It was in a tank with 1,000 gallons of its buddies, and then it was stuffed into a 750 milliliter bottle, and it's just kind of like Marcel Marceau, kind of, what the hell's going on here? I'll figure it out. This wine is bound to be a classic. I think the 19 Pinot Blanc is going to be absolutely, probably the best Pinot Blanc we've made at J.Wilkes. Cool. So one thing I'll do, if you guys have some questions, any questions about kind of what I went through, I will share my notes. I will print them out or take a picture of them probably and put them both on the J.Wilkes Facebook page, as well as maybe putting them out either tonight or tomorrow morning on Instagram, so you guys can have all my notes, and I want you to have everything you do. Hopefully you learned some wonderful things about talking about wine. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be definitely, Zinman's got a Malvasia. Excuse me, Malvasia or Malvasia, but Malvasia Bianca. Beautiful wine. The Malvasia that they grow in Ballard Canyon at the Larner Vineyard is spectacular. Tammy, so good to see you. So glad that all you guys. And one thing, I've changed my setup, so I'm using smaller devices, but they're a little closer together, so it doesn't look like I'm looking too far away from you. Fabulous people. But I'm not able to see everybody quite as easy anymore. But I did see that Tammy Heron came in, and I see that everybody else, so I will wave to you as well and just say, for each and every one of you that came in, it's a little bit more difficult for me to see everybody who comes in and out, but let me just tell you, I appreciate each and every one of you, and certainly, Karen's got her J.Wilkes Pinot Noir. She says it's fantastic, as long as the Dead Lioness says it's fantastic. That's awesome. Keep an eye out on my Instagram. We do have baby bunnies, and I am posting daily pictures of these little baby bunnies from the moment they were born until when they just open their eyes. They're coming out of the nesting box and cruising around and walking around and bothering their mom now. And mom's not all that happy, but they're pretty damn cute. So I definitely want you guys to be able to be a part of their young bunny lives. What else? Go over to YouTube. Every single show we do is put over on the J.Wilkes YouTube as well as the Miller Family Wines YouTube. We could certainly use some more love over there. Tell your friends if they want to learn about wine. There's basically probably damn close to 100 hours of content over there. There's nothing that I've ever thought that's probably not actually expressed over there. Like it, follow it, have fun with it, enjoy it. And make sure you're drinking all sorts of wonderful wines. I will not see you this weekend, so I expect all of you to be careful, to socially distance, wear masks, because I care for each and every one of you, as I do for every human being on this planet, except those 3 guys I went to high school with. You know who I'm talking about. No, I want everyone in this world to flourish. I want us to all be safe. It's not a matter of, is it, are we in danger or we can go out and do everything? There is a lot of nuance to this thing. Americans tend to struggle with nuance. So let's kick ass and show the world that we can do this, right? Let's come together. Let's do the right thing. Let's protect the most vulnerable people. That is going to be my clarion call. That's going to be my call to action for all of you tonight. You've heard me say 100 times to find someone in your neighborhood and your family and a friend that might need some help and to help them. I think you should still do that. But I think our new clarion call at the end of Day Drinking with Wes Hagen should be, let's protect the vulnerable, because the vulnerable have been protected by humanism and care and love. Before humans were even humans, we were taking care of each other. It makes us human. It makes us kind. And in the end, what's the most important thing in the world? It's kindness and flourishing, and to make every human being on this planet, to give them a chance to understand what a wonderful life this is. Maybe it's the wine talking, but it's a wonderful life. So I want you all to get out there, have some fun. Don't forget to do your day drinking on Friday. I'm watching you guys because, it is independent study, so I'll check your homework. Go out there and flourish. Watch KCOY News tonight. See if I have anything interesting to say. Support wine, support beer, support everyone, support craft. Do everything you can to spread the little amount of money that you have in the bank around, because there's a lot of people that are hurting out there, and we all have to take care of each other. Love what you drink what you love, and I will see you guys on Monday with a blindfold on. I will be a blind taster on Monday, and I really hope you guys join me. I hope you guys all enjoyed Day Drinking with Wes Hagen tonight. It was a little shorter than normal. Now you got more time to go take care of the people you love. Have a great night, and I hope you guys all enjoyed and learned something tonight. Enjoy. Compassion rocks. Thanks again, Karen. Cheers.